Tonight on 60 Minutes, we bring you an exclusive expose from Darwin, where our intrepid investigators have gone undercover and found some truly shocking farming practices from a small hobby farm that could be around the corner from anybody.
Ben and Beryl's property is adjacent to a refuge station. We saw many dogs in the area and even Ben and Beryl dropping food because they feel sorry for them. Wild dogs are an issue for livestock because they can carry diseases such as Echinococcus granulosus, which is a parasite, a tapeworm that can infect ruminants and cause hydatitis in their organs, including their liver, lungs and brain. This stage is not an issue to human health, but it can pose a threat if they do come into contact with the dogs and ingest the eggs themselves. Another threat Ben and Beryl should be concerned about is the protozoa Neosporum caninum. This is passed by dogs as well and can cause abortion in cattle. If they are using the cow for milk, then this will be an issue for them. If they're encouraging dogs to the area, they could also be leading to the infection of neighbouring farms. During the investigation, our reporters in the field also noticed rubbish blowing from the refuge station onto the farm. Plastic wrappers and plastic bags can pose a huge threat to livestock health as they see them as something novel and they do ingest them. They can then cause blockages in their stomachs and their intestinal tracts. They could also pose a biosecurity threat as they could be contaminated with bacteria, fungi, and chemical waste.
Ben and Beryl have been letting their cattle graze on oleander trees and lantana hedges as of late. What Ben and Beryl don't know is that both of these plants can be toxic to their animals. Not good, Ben and Beryl. Okay, so what's wrong with lantana? It contains toxic compounds lanthanine A and B that can cause intrahepatic cholestasis, leading to jaundice and photosensitization. Cattle reared on lantana-infested country typically avoid lantana unless forced to eat it due to lack of food. Are Ben and Beryl forcing their cattle to eat a toxic plant? Within several days of exposure, cattle become listless, inaptent, and constipated. They show signs of photosensitization with areas of white skin becoming cracked, crusted, and necrotic. Death due to liver disease may occur within 2 days in severely intoxicated animals. And what's so bad about oleander? It contains cardiac glycosides that can result in cardiac arrhythmias and sudden death. Other signs that can be seen are profuse sweating, convulsions, and paralysis. How could Ben and Beryl be feeding these plants to their cows? We aren't sure either.
Thanks, Jess. During our investigation, we noticed that the udder of Bessie the cow was covered in sores. This became a cause of concern for several reasons, the first being Bessie's own health and welfare. A common cause of an udder looking like Bessie's is clinical mastitis, which is often a painful infection. Mastitis is not often alleviated by the use of out-of-date topical antibiotics, which is the only treatment she has received thus far from Ben and Beryl.
Not good, Ben and Beryl.
In addition, Bessie the cow still has 2 lambs suckling from her, which aside from the potentially contaminated milk, would most likely be causing her great discomfort. This also could potentially be hazardous to humans if they too were drinking the contaminated milk.
Now I'm sure Ben is a smart guy, but using terramycin spray 5 years out of date on poor Bessie is a cause for concern. While there is limited evidence to suggest terramycin is toxic, using it beyond the expiration date means there is no guarantee of the full potency and safety of the drug. If being done was a crime, Ben, you'd be in jail in no time.
There are also important biosecurity implications that could be associated with Bessie's udder sores. It may be a disease known as pseudo-cowpox, but it could be confused with the more serious foot and mouth disease, which is a virus known to cause lesions on the udder of affected cows. Sheep can also be infected without showing many clinical signs. Without proper veterinary attention, cow Bessie and sheeps Brenda and Bindi could be carrying this notifiable and highly contagious and potentially zoonotic disease. It would have severe socio-economic impacts if it were allowed to spread within Australia, and the Australian Government Department of Agriculture and Water Resources have estimated it would cost $16 billion if a serious outbreak were to occur, causing death of young animals and serious production losses nationwide.
Thanks, Michelle. And now, Scotty with the weather.
It's fucking hot.
Thanks, Scotty. That was really insightful. Okay, while surveilling the farm, we saw Beryl the baker bringing back bags of buns, bread and baked goods for Bessie, Brenda and Bindi. A seemingly nice treat. However, on close inspection we found that some of these bakery goods, such as the cheese and bacon scrolls, contained meat. The practice of feeding ruminant animals, such as cows and sheep, any kind of meat product or restricted animal material is completely illegal throughout Australia. By recklessly feeding their animals this meat, they have increased the risk of their animals getting a fatal disease called bovine spongiform encephalopathy in their cows, or scrapie in sheep. Haven't heard of these diseases? Maybe you know it better as mad cow disease. This means that if anyone were to eat the meat from these animals, they themselves would be at risk of dying from this fatal brain disease. We also observed that Ben and Beryl's animals were being really irritated by the midges that had started to swarm in their paddock, as they were constantly being bitten all over. Ben and Beryl had made a half-hearted attempt to try and help them using plain old flypaper in the trees, but without actually using any effective preventatives, leaving them to suffer. In fact, Bessie had developed painful sores on the corner of her eye, likely caused by the biting buffalo fly, which can transmit a nasty parasite called Staphylophalaria, which can cause lesions all over the body. The high levels of biting flies, with no respite from preventatives or treatment, raises serious welfare concerns for these animals. More concerning, however, is that if these midges are the Culicoides species, these can be vectors for some diseases that are seriously harmful to cattle and the northern cattle industry, such as 3-day sickness, blue tongue virus, and Akabani virus. Thanks to all of our reporters here at 60 Minutes, and we just have one question for Ben and Beryl. What are they thinking?